Salutations, squad members. No, something different.
No, I like it.
This is Caryn.
And this is Jill.
And you're listening to Scream Girl Squad.
So, we missed a week.
Yeah.
I've been complaining a lot on this podcast about how I'm always sick, and now it is Caryn's turn.
It's my turn.
It's not my fault. I want to just declare that straight up front here. It's not because I licked her face that time.
I think your average listener might put two and two together and be like, hang on, Jill was super sick last... No, it's not Jill's fault. It is the fall. This is Caryn gets pneumonia season. So,
yeah.
So if my voice sounds all quavery, it's not that I was just crying or that I'm about to cry, which would be fair assumptions because of how much time I spend crying into microphones. But it's just because I have pneumonia still, so.
Yeah. I'm also going to go ahead and declare it. If she's crying, I did not, air quotes, kick her in the shins.
Oh, my shins are so low to the ground, you couldn't even kick them if you tried. So luckily for me and my health, Jill and I's shared activity is pretty leisurely. We sit on a couch and we watch a movie, and then we sit on the same couch and we talk about the movie.
It's very chill.
I did still have to take a nap to, ramp up for this, but
It's
I'm
just
ready.
A regular Tuesday for me.
Normal Tuesday night for Jill Johnson. So we were both in the mood to watch a newer scary movie. We've been watching a lot of older ones lately.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little teensy bit nervous to watch a new scary movie because they do tend to be more tense and more frightening in general, and I feel like I'm easier to scare when I'm unwell.
Well, that's the thing.
Is it?
You're not in homeostasis. Everything is slightly off from the norm and everything seems worse.
Yeah.
I totally think that's a thing.
Yeah, you nailed it. You even
Uh-huh.
used a classic Jill science word. Yeah.
I love homeostasis. That's one of my favorite words.
Oh, I thought you just meant I love being in homeostasis. It feels nice.
Yeah, I don't remember what that's like, but I like to say the word.
So sad. So we rented Annabelle Comes Home, which
Yes.
is one I've been excited about for a while because I love the Conjuring movies.
Yes.
And the animal movies have historically been pretty fun. There's Annabelle.
Mm-hmm. Which I really, really, really liked.
Yeah. And then there's Annabelle Creation.
Which I remember less good.
I
What
thought,
happened in that one?
so that's the one where there's a farm in the 50s, maybe?
Oh, and the little girl.
The little girl has died.
They see the thing hanging from the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a well. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting is Annabelle Comes Home is the third movie. But with Annabelle Creation, it's almost like they were rebooting their own storyline.
Uh-huh.
Because they kind of offered an alternative origin story for the doll than the one presented in the original Annabelle movie. But then Annabelle Comes Home, the first scene is basically the end of Annabelle.
It seamlessly transitions, yes.
Yeah. It starts immediately after the end of Annabelle. So they definitely aren't discounting that movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I feel like, though, the first one, they didn't really give you an origin story.
Not really, no, yeah.
Yeah. So the second one was how that came to be.
A more pure prequel, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's sort of linear.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in the Conjuring universe at all, I looked up the timeline because I was curious about the order in which the films take place. And Annabelle Comes Home is the fourth in order. Annabelle Creation is first, then The Nun, and then Annabelle, and then Annabelle Comes Home right after. So this movie takes place before the events in The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. What's super interesting is that there's like a couple of foreshadowing things in this movie for The Conjuring. So basically, bottom line, if you're a fan of the Conjuring universe and James Wan's movies, you pretty much have to watch this one.
Right.
Because they all tie together and they all sort of like lay on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
The basic premise of the movie, for those of you who haven't seen any previews yet or anything, is the Warrens take the super creepy haunted porcelain doll, Annabelle, and they put her in her special little glass case in their little artifact room with all the other creepy haunted crap that they have. And then teenage antics let Annabelle out. And she starts running amok.
Youths.
But it's your pretty straightforward, there are haunted things, and the haunted things get out, and they cause trouble for everyone in the general vicinity of the haunted things.
Yes.
So, I'd like to dive in and go ahead and rate it, because I have many feelings.
Yes.
As per usual. And I want to talk about it quite a bit.
Yes. So as a reminder, we rate things on 2 scales, enjoyability and scare factor. So enjoyability, we rate on some sort of treat that we consume during the movie because we're munch mouth. She beat me to it. We love to eat. Our friendship is based on food.
Mm-hmm.
Because Caryn's a bass grandma who likes to feed people.
That's true.
And I'm not far off. So we like to eat. And fear factor, we base off something from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we scale them both out of 5. So on a scale of 1 to 5. So today, our enjoyability, we're going to scale out of handfuls of caramel popcorn.
Handfuls, I guess.
I mean, neither one of us ate handfuls, but
that's true.
What else is like a piece of caramel popcorn? That's just sad. It's
this popcorn dilemma all over again.
I know. We say bucket.
Bags?
Bag.
It did come in a bag. A nice little...
A bag in a bucket.
Crinkly bag. Yeah, a bag in a bucket. Okay, is it just me? So Kelly and I were at the grocery store and I got pretty excited because the holidays are coming and they have those big tins that popcorn comes in, and then the tins invariably get reused in your house as like bathroom garbage cans. But when I was a kid, I thought that the tins came with like separators inside.
Yeah, so you could take the separator out and mix them all together if you like chaos. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Is that how you ate your holiday popcorn?
But we did it. Diana and I did it once. We tried it. It was not good.
It sounds like the worst.
I think we didn't want to share with Jessica, so we took out the separators.
And everyone paid the price.
Yep.
For your selfishness.
Pretty much.
Well, now they come in clear plastic bags.
Which is kind of a bummer.
I know, because it's less of it, too.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest. I remember popcorn buckets tasting better.
Yeah, I'm with you there. We opened up the cheese one.
It tasted like nothing.
No, it didn't taste
like cardboardy.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed with this popcorn bucket.
Maybe it's just the brand. I don't know what brand you got.
Kroger brand, probably. I
don't know what brands there are.
Yeah,
I'm acting like I'm an authority on buckets of popcorn.
The only popcorn brand I probably know is Popcornopolis. Which
What?
They sell the popcorn in those little plastic sleeves. They look kind of like cones.
Oh, yeah.
And they have one that's like chocolate and caramel drizzle. It's really good.
I know the one called Poppycock. Because of course I do.
It's the nuttiest.
Or Cracker Jacks.
That's true. They came with terrible prices. Yeah. You know what? I would have preferred a box of Cracker Jacks over this.
I can agree with that.
It's like...
It was kind of poor man's Cracker Jacks, this caramel corn.
Yeah. So it wasn't great, but it's what we had.
Yes. So, moral of this story, don't eat a bucket of popcorn this holiday season. You're welcome.
Or if you do, get it from, a good
If you
place.
find a good one, tell us where you got it.
Yes, that's the moral of the story. If you find a good bucket of holiday corn, you let us know. We need to find out about it.
Yep.
So let's imagine that this was actually good caramel corn.
Done.
And on a scale of 1 to 5 bags of good caramel corn, how would you rate Annabelle Comes Home?
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It's just kind of floating in the middle.
That's exactly about where I am at. I am definitely going to watch it again because Kelly wasn't able to watch it with us, and he'll be sad if he has to watch it alone.
Yeah.
If he was with us and I didn't have to watch it again, I don't know if I would.
Yeah.
This is my least favorite entry in the Conjuring universe. And
yeah, I would watch The Nun again before I watched this.
Yes, I definitely would.
And The Nun was so bad it was funny, so I am actually okay with that one.
And this one had some kind of so bad it's good kind of camp moments, I think. They definitely seem to be going for a more retro style of horror movie.
Definitely.
It felt a little poltergeisty. It also felt a little like The House, which I think I've talked about on here before. That one that I was terrified of as a kid, and upon rewatching as an adult, realized this is supposed to be funny. And the effects are not great. It's just, I think its rewatch value is pretty low.
Yeah.
And I think its biggest problem is that it had too much going on.
Way too much, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 5 haunted dolls, how scared were you?
I'm going to give that a 3 as well. It was effective enough that throughout the movie, I didn't like seeing stuff move out of the corner of my eye. Like, the curtain was fluttering from the heater being on, and I didn't like that. Yeah. There were a few pretty effective scares in there. One jump scare got Jill to gasp.
I jumped so bad.
So it did its job fairly well, but there were a lot of scares that I can't decide if they weren't trying to scare us on purpose, like if they were leaning into the camp thing.
Yeah.
How about you?
I honestly was thinking 2. Because that one jump scare that got me might be the only part that, like the whole scene leading up to it was scary. But other than that, I don't even think I was nervous.
Yeah. Split the difference, 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5's good.
All right, 2.5 haunted dolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, once again, if you are into this universe, you gotta watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth watching. I would not say, like, save your time, don't watch it. But it, like, don't go in expecting The Conjuring.
Yeah, because it's not going to be as good.
Yeah.
And I think, side note, this is exactly why they do these interconnected movies where we get to call it things like the Conjuring universe. Because they know that you're going to keep watching them so that you don't miss some little Easter egg or factoid that's going to have an impact on movies that came before or after it.
For sure.
And that stuff works on me like crazy.
Yep.
Just like how gamification totally works on Caryn. Like, if there's an opportunity for me to earn a sticker of some kind, I'm going to do it.
Caryn has big FOMO. She needs to know what's happening. FOMO is fear of missing out.
I do
those of
have
you who don't know.
Big FOMO. My friend Kenzie takes advantage of that all the time. If she wants to do something and no one wants to do it with her, she knows she can talk me into going to whatever party or checking out whatever gas station deli.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the cast at all before we dive in?
I do love talking about the cast.
Yeah. So the main little girl, I had to look her up because I was like, this girl has been in everything, and she literally has been in everything.
Yeah. So the film, it's centered, like everything else in the Conjuring universe, pretty much. It's centered around the Warren family. Ed and Lorraine Warren, famous like paranormal investigators and occultists who worked cases in real life, like Amityville, for example. They're the ones who have the Annabelle doll, and they have this artifact room full of other creepy things. And this film, they're hardly in it. Mostly it focuses on their daughter, Judy, who is played by
McKenna Grace. And she has been in so many things. So she was in the movie Gifted with Chris Evans, which I actually haven't seen yet, but really, really want to, where she plays like a really smart girl, and he's her dad or her caregiver of some kind. Anyway.
I haven't even heard of it.
It looks really good. She was in...
like a drama? Or...
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. She was in I, Tonya, about the ice skating.
Oh, yeah. Tonya Harding.
Uh-huh. She was in some episodes of Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. And Captain Marvel. She played young Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. She was in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. She plays young Sabrina. She was in The Haunting of Hill House. She plays young Theo.
That's what I recognized her from the most.
And there's something else. Once Upon a Time, she plays young Emma.
So she's played a lot of young
versions of people. She's in Fuller House, which I recognized her as. I love it. She was in Ready Player One.
She was in Ready Player One.
Says she plays elementary kid, so probably shouldn't have a big part. Yeah. Amityville: The Awakening. How to Be a Latin Lover.
So this
The
kid,
Independence Day. Anyway,
Jill
she's
commented she's like 12 or 13 years old and has something like 52 titles on her IMDb page. So she's child actress is, she's rocking it. She has a very, do you remember that movie Matilda?
Uh-huh.
That little girl. She's like that little girl. She has a lot of facial features that are similar to her, but she's older than that girl was in Matilda.
A little less rounded face, but has a very similar persona, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. She did a good job.
Yes.
Her character, Judy, that she plays she's the daughter of a famous psychic and a dude who's pretty much a priest, but not really a priest, who go around like exorcising demons and getting in the paper. So she's sort of an outcast.
Prepared. Like, she carries a cross in her backpack.
Yeah.
And so when creepy ghost priests stare at her in the playground, she just whips that sucker out.
Yeah.
Which I found refreshing because I think I've talked about before, Rachel and I have been watching Buffy.
Uh-huh.
And we're real annoyed that Buffy has a little sister who magically becomes her little sister. Anyway, but she knows zero self-defense. Your sister is the vampire slayer. You don't know how to fight at all.
Yeah.
Why
Buffy's
is this a thing?
Yeah. Buffy's letting the side down there.
Yeah. Anyway, so this girl was like prepared for the evil in the world around her. Mm-hmm. And I found that refreshing and nice.
Yeah. She did a pretty solid job throughout the movie. There are a few lines that they had her deliver that we'll talk about. That I was like, yeah. But on the whole, she's obviously got 52 titles to her name for a reason. She's doing a good job.
Yes, for sure. And then there was her babysitter, who was played by Madison Eisman, who was the cute blonde girl in Jumanji. The new Jumanji movie.
That's what I recognize her from.
Yep.
Okay.
So all we've seen her in is like, sorry for using this as a trope, but like the kind of dumb blonde girl.
Uh-huh.
And so it was kind of cool in this movie. She was like really smart and taking care of everything. And
yeah, she's not vapid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a very different character, which was fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did a good job too.
And such a different character. It actually took me a little while in the movie to figure out where I knew her from.
I knew her from something, but I thought it's because she looked like the girl from Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I watched last night. She has like a sort of similar bone structure. So
yeah.
But yeah, she was great. Her best friend in the movie, a character named Daniela, she seemed vaguely familiar in the way that like she maybe looks like another actress that I'm familiar with, maybe, but I couldn't place her.
She was in an episode of Supernatural.
Hmm.
But I don't know which one. It just says 2014. Something called Youth and Consequences, Twisted Sisters, Girl Meets World. Yeah, not a ton.
Yeah, not a bunch of stuff, but definitely less than her much younger co-star.
Zombies and Cheerleaders. I don't know what this is.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good cast. And then, of course, Ed and Lorraine Warren, as always, are played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. And they always do a stand-up job.
Oh, Patrick Wilson.
I know, we've talked about it before. Hard Candy. It's like
and I haven't seen it, so I think he's sexy. Plus, Broadway guy, so in my heart.
Have we talked about that before? Is he a Broadway guy?
Well, he's in the Phantom of the Opera movie.
As the Phantom?
That was his first big major role. No, he plays Raoul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the Phantom was Jared Butler.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Ew. I think it's adorable.
He's so hot as the Phantom. Till he takes his mask off. But
yeah, you don't usually think of the Phantom as hot.
No, you do. Yeah. I do.
Isn't he supposed to be disfigured, and that's why he wears the mask?
Yeah, but then when he's wearing the mask, it's all like mysterious and sexy.
Jill loves a good masked man. All right. No,
Zorro, come on.
That explains it, because Patrick Wilson manages to sing in an awful lot of these horror movies.
Yes, he does.
Like in The Conjuring 2.
Uh-huh.
He sings that Elvis song. And
voice of an angel. That was my favorite part. I'm not going to lie. I love, yeah.
So good cast all the way around.
Let's talk about the movie.
All right.
Let's
dive in. Okay.
Spoilers. So, this movie starts out, I think we said earlier, seamlessly from the first Annabelle movie. So, they're sitting in a living room with the two girls and the guy from the first Annabelle movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're explaining that it's not the doll. The doll attracts other spirits.
Yeah.
Right?
Like they're like, the doll itself isn't haunted. It was being used by a demonic force, and that force was moving it around and making it do things. But that force doesn't live inside of the doll. It's just using it.
Yeah. So they didn't really explain why this doll... I mean, because that was in the other movie, right?
I mean, kind of in Annabelle Creation, they sort of explain that. Like, this is going to be some minor spoils for Annabelle Creation, or at least the beginning of it, which is the daughter dies, and they are trying to get the daughter to come back to them, and they use this doll as a host for the spirit that they think is their daughter, but is actually another entity tricking them.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little bit confused about it because, like, they lock Annabelle up in a case. Is that because there's something inside Annabelle that they want to keep out? Or that they want to keep locked inside? Or is it because they want to keep external forces from reaching and therefore using the doll?
I was unsure about that as well. Yeah. They weren't very clear.
Either way. We're going to take the doll home with us, and we're going to, care for it.
Yeah, and the people were like, cool.
Yeah, they're like, burn it in a fire. Like, destroy it. And they're like, no, we have to.
We got this. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So they pack her up in the car, and in, the weirdest, creepy... So they're driving down the road. Patrick Wilson is adorably singing along to the radio. And the great knock 3 times.
Was that the
on
song?
The ceiling
I love
if you
that
want
song.
me. Yep. That's what he was singing, but badly, and it was adorable. So they're talking to each other about how they missed a turn and all kinds of stuff. Or are they in the right place? And then it just shows Annabelle sitting in the backseat of the car, which if you don't know what Annabelle looks like, Google her picture right now and you'll picture this face just smiling at them from the backseat. And it was so uncomfortable. You were just sitting there ugh, she's just looking at him.
She's a cross between an oversized porcelain doll and a ventriloquist dummy.
Yes.
And then they, took that doll and they bashed it up good. So she's got, scars and stuff on her face. But
she just looks like she's haunted by the devil.
I've never transported a haunted object before.
Right.
But if it were me doing it...
In the trunk?
In the trunk. That's what I would do, yeah.
I would not want to look at it in my rearview mirror as I'm driving down a dark highway.
I wouldn't put this toddler-sized doll in the middle of the back seat.
I think they buckled it in.
I don't know,
but...
No, I pictured a seatbelt across that little doll's lap. Yeah. So she's just, sitting in the back having a wonderful time, in the back seat of this car.
Yeah. So they get stopped by a car accident. Mm-hmm. And we found this interesting because they did a really good job of throwing back to pre-Google Maps era, because this takes place in the 70s. And so the cop is like, hey, the road's closed. You have to go back. You have to go back to this exit and and that'll be the way that you want to go. So they have to give them instructions about a detour. Because you can't just figure it out,
yeah,
right?
Well, this was the era. It's like when we were growing up in the 80s. You kept a map folded up in your glove box.
Exactly. So I found it interesting. I didn't know that cops did that, but it makes sense. They have to tell you where to go instead. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool. And the cop, shines his flashlight. And he's like, hey, nice doll. And Ed Warren says something like, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Or something like...
But he puts all the emphasis on, yeah, you'd think that.
Right.
Rube.
He was kind of a douche about it, if I'm being honest. Yeah. He was kind of weird to the cop. It sort of felt like you clearly don't know who I am, and I'm just going to mess with you because you don't know who I am.
Do you know who I am? Yeah. I'm Strawberry Alarm Clock. So they have to take a detour, which of course ends up being a very foggy and lonely road.
So of course their car dies. Mm-hmm. Naturally.
Yes. And dies right outside of a cemetery.
Like right in front of the archway that leads to the cemetery. Like just centered right up in that archway.
Yeah. And Lorraine gets the map out of the glove box, and Ed goes out to tinker with the engine, because what can't Ed Warren do? He can play guitar, he can sing, he can banish demons, he's good with cars. he's a perfect man, we get it, okay. So Lorraine's, like, got the map up on her window, and they did a pretty good job of, like, panning and her pulling the map away to kind of ratchet up the tension and have you be like, what is she going to see?
There's going to be something behind the map. I was convinced there was going to be something behind the map, which these movies always do to me. They don't do the obvious thing. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, she's opening that box real slow. It's going to be inside. Oh crap, it's behind her.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know, yeah. So they did that. Like, the way she was holding up the map, you're like, oh crap, something's behind that map. No, nothing.
Yeah.
And then she kind of sees, like, a figure in the fog in the distance. And she, like, is like, ugh, and kind of looks away. And then, does she see the back seat or hear the voice first?
So we see it. They pan back to the car from the kind of whatever she's looking on the distance. They pan back to the car, and there is a dead girl in the back seat sitting next to Annabelle. And she says, I like your doll. And that's what Lorraine hears.
Yeah.
So we see the girl, but she, I assume, sees it with the power of her magic mind.
Yeah.
And she kind of, like, moves the rearview mirror so that she can't see the back seat. She can only see her own eyes.
Yeah. Which also scared. Like, I was like, oh no, she's moving the mirror.
Yeah.
You know how we feel about mirrors.
Yeah.
But no, it was fine. But then as she's doing that, Ed is fixing the car, and he accidentally honks the horn, and he's like, sorry, got the wires crossed, or something. Something dumb and like that. Yeah. And then he puts the hood down, and he's surrounded by dead people.
Mm-hmm. And there's dead people filling the cemetery, like, standing behind the gate. And, of course, one of the ghosts pushes Ed into the road.
Just as a truck comes and almost runs over him, and he barely scrambles out of the road in time. Yeah. The truck pulls over, the guy gets out, and he's like, I am so sorry. It was like my truck was driving itself. I don't even know what happened. And Ed and Lorraine are just like, oh, well.
Yeah. Like, Lorraine immediately realizes, oh, it's the doll. Annabelle is.
And they turn around and look at Annabelle in the car.
And she's creepy looking.
Yeah.
And then it sort of starts rolling the credits in that Conjuring way that they do, where it explains about Ed and Lorraine Warren and what they do and how they have creepy things. And Annabelle's the creepiest thing of all.
Yeah.
So that first kind of intro thing, they packed a little bit of humor into it. Like the way that Ed was talking to the cop and their musical choices contrasted with Annabelle's scary as crap face in the back seat. It kind of got off to kind of a, once again, sort of retro feeling, but also lighthearted. So I almost expected the rest of the movie to be kind of lighthearted based on that.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't.
Yeah, it didn't so much.
So they get the doll home, and there's a priest waiting there. They already have, like, a little glass case with a cute little chair set up in their artifact room.
For the doll.
For the doll. And the priest blesses it, and they lock it up.
Which we commented to each other, why did they already have a case with a little chair?
Yeah, it was waiting for them when they got home.
Yeah, so was the priest, which was also weird. They probably have one on call all the time.
Well, they did say that they bring a priest to the house once a week to bless the room. So I guess he's that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he blesses it, and it's like, speaking of normal Tuesday nights, that's just, like, what happens to them all the time, because they put this super haunted doll in a glass case, and they're like, all right, let's go on with our regular old lives. Everything's hunky-dory.
And we're going out of town.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty immediate. Here, we're going to bring home the most evil thing we've ever brought home. And then we're just going to peace out.
Yep.
Good luck with the babysitter. See you later. Like,
yeah.
That was it.
Yep. So you can tell, obviously, they've dealt with some heavier stuff than that.
Yeah.
So Judy comes out. She's dressed in a little Catholic schoolgirl uniform, pretty much identical to the one that I had to wear, but way cuter. Number one, because hers was green, whereas mine was blue. And they gave them these, like, little cutesy-poo headbands We didn't get
You did not
cutesy-poo
get a
headbands.
headband. Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think we did actually get headbands, but they were like narrow. They were kind of push your hair back. Anyway, I was like 8-year-old Caryn would have been mighty envious of that particular school outfit.
It was pretty rad.
So
groovy, if you will.
Oh, what?
I said groovy, if you will.
Yes, it's very groovy. Get out of my house. So she's getting ready for school, and she leaves her room and kind of as an afterthought runs back to grab a crucifix from over her bed and shove it in her backpack.
Yes.
And she goes downstairs and is all excited because her parents are going out of town, and her babysitter, Mary Ellen, the blonde girl from Jumanji, she's going to take care of her for the night, I guess.
They don't really say.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine you're leaving a teenage girl for longer than a night.
Mm-hmm.
And they do come back the next day, right?
I think it's just one day.
Yeah.
So they take off, and Mary...
Do they ever mention how
where they're going,
old she is, the daughter?
I don't know. She looked to me to be about 11 or 12.
Okay.
She's at least double digits because of the candles that are being purchased. 6th to 8th grade, maybe.
Yeah, sounds fair.
Yeah. So the babysitter, Mary Ellen, drives Judy to school. And Judy seems kind of like reluctant to get out of the car, but she's not really explaining why.
There's some dude she's eyeballing.
Yeah.
That she doesn't seem to want to have anything to do with.
Yeah, another kid at school. Which makes
again
sense.
Made me wonder how old she was, because was it like they broke up yesterday and she didn't want to talk to him? Or like...
I got that distinct sense they were... Like, she was being bullied by this kid.
Yes. Which I got that impression after a minute. But at first, I was like... Because I was trying to gauge how old she was. And I was like, is she, like, uncomfortable with this guy? Or is she, like, afraid of him? Or is she, like... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you learn pretty quickly that she just, like... doesn't have it very easy at school.
Yeah. Like, school is hard enough as a child. Catholic school's even harder.
High.
Yeah. And then when your parents are, like... in the paranormal, that's like gotta be even harder,
especially at a Catholic school.
Yeah, that's true, because even the Catholic Church calls on the Warrens all the time. It's still outside of what's accepted. So this little girl is sitting in school, and there's this creepy old priest just like watching her from across the schoolyard.
It sort of was like in the It Chapter 1 when the librarian is staring from afar and you just see her like out of the corner of your eye just standing there staring. It was kind of like that.
Yeah. And Judy, you can tell, has seen this guy before. Mm-hmm. He's the reason that she has the crucifix in her backpack. Yeah. And alive or dead, like an adult staring at a child with that look on their face.
It's very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. So it cuts to Mary Ellen, who's in the grocery store buying birthday party supplies for Judy, because her birthday's the next day, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they're going to celebrate tonight with a cake. She's buying like at least a candle that's in the shape of the one and some other candle that she doesn't actually pick up. So, and her best friend Daniela is in the store with her, basically being that kind of best friend who's also kind of a butt, who's harassing you.
Listen,
friendly.
We compared it to a person. We don't have to talk about
it. If you grew up as a girl, you had one of these friends. Who
we all had one.
Yeah, they get you into trouble. They're kind of mean to you. You love them anyway.
As we said, you love them because you think they're cooler than you, so you do whatever they talk you into for some reason. For some reason. And even as an adult, looking back, you're still not sure why. And maybe as an adult, she still talks you into stuff that you're like, how did I get here?
FOMO strikes again, I guess. Who knows? So her friend Daniela is giving Mary Ellen the babysitter crap because Mary Ellen has a crush on the cashier. Bob has balls.
That's his name.
That's his name.
Bob has balls.
Basically, everyone in this entire movie calls him Bob has balls.
Including Ed Warren at the end of the film. So Homeboy's name is Bob.
Which
but then also
one?
Sometimes balls.
Yeah.
And then sometimes Bob has balls.
What teenage boy is named Bob? I have known many men named Bob.
Yeah.
And lots of kids named Robert or Bobby or Rob.
Or Robbie.
Or Robbie.
No Bobs.
No Bobs. Not ones under the age of 35.
Those of you who were around in the 70s, tell us if there were any, like, young boys your age named Bob. We need to know.
Yeah.
Mom, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, because, like, right now, you tell me the name Bob, I picture Bob Belcher, like, flipping burgers. Or,
as I made the comment of during the movie, Bob from That 70s Show.
Hey there.
Hey there, ho there.
Exactly.
That's the kind of person you picture.
Back at the school, Judy is being bullied by some little kid named Anthony something.
Anthony, Daniela's little brother.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but you don't quite know that yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So she's getting bullied, and her babysitter swoops into the rescue and is like, Anthony, whatever your name is, like, don't make me get your sister involved. Like, quit being a little butthead. And as the just rescued Judy and her babysitter are walking out of the school, Judy looks over and sees a bust of a deceased priest who is like the same guy that's watching her down the hallway right now.
Yeah.
So obviously at school, she's being like watched by this
dead priest.
And you're not sure if it's like a good ghost or a bad ghost.
Up to this point, though, have we seen any good ghosts? Like, I just automatically assumed bad.
Yeah. There are some good ghosts in The Nun.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But, yeah. Anyway, that whole business with the priest.
Weird.
Weird. Like, they don't
really explain it.
Yeah, they never close the loop on that.
Other than they talk about how she can see him.
Yeah. So,
but
I guess he's just a vehicle to show us, like, oh, Judy's like Lorraine. She inherited the gift. She can see stuff.
Yeah.
Which we kind of already knew from The Conjuring 2, but I guess that takes place, like, chronologically after this movie. But
yeah.
Anyway, so Judy and Mary Ellen go home, and they're making frosting for the birthday cake. And
the cake, I think.
They're making the cake, yeah. And the door, like, that someone's knocking at the door, and they don't hear it at first. And then they hear more knocking. And when they go to answer the door, there's no one there. And then a bell rings behind them, but it's just her kind of butthead friend, Danielle.
Who snuck in the back.
Yeah. She's like, I was knocking on the door.
I'm crashing
forever.
the party.
Yeah. So Daniela immediately inserts herself into the situation, and she makes it, like, pretty obvious what she's in the house for.
Well, and, like, even when they were at the grocery store earlier, like, she was pointedly asking questions to Bob Has Balls about, like, oh, you live across the street from the Warrens? Have you ever seen anything weird? What do you see that goes on there? What do you know about them? She's clearly fangirling or curious to some unhealthy level.
Mm-hmm.
She's pushing pretty hard.
Yeah. Like, not even shy at all about her intentions.
No.
When she gets to the house, she's not interested in the birthday cake. She's like, tell me about the weird stuff your parents are into.
Is this a bell that someone's ghost?
Yeah.
Is this everything.
Yeah, every question comes back to, like, what about the ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
She has brought over an old pair of roller skates that she gives to Judy as a quote-unquote birthday present, but is really an excuse for her to get Judy and Mary Ellen out of the house. Because she, like, not very casually at all tells them, why don't you guys go use those roller skates outside and I'll hang out in here and make sure the cake doesn't burn.
It's so obvious from the get, like, dumb.
Mary Ellen is a complete and total fool for not seeing through Danielle's, like, scheme.
Yeah.
But whatever, she takes Judy outside anyway, leaving Danielle to go and try to get into the artifact room.
Directly into the off-limit artifact room.
Yeah.
That, I cannot remember her name, little Warren girl.
Judy.
That Judy, like, pretty strictly was like, we don't go in there. It's not safe. Like, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Because she was asking about everything.
Yeah.
And she just didn't care and did whatever she wants anyway.
So she goes to the door. It has, like, 10 locks on it.
Yeah.
So many huge locks. And she's all frustrated she can't get in. So she tells the door, all right, I'm speaking to the spirits on the other side of this door. Let me in.
Yeah.
Nothing happens. She can't get into the door.
Yeah.
But she's determined. She, like, feels around the top of the door frame for, like, a spare key. And then a door creaks down the hallway, and she follows it, the sound, into Ed's office, where he has, like, a painting on an easel, and the painting is of the house where The Conjuring takes place.
Mm-hmm. Which, didn't one of the daughters paint it? Wasn't there a painting?
I think Ed paints that stuff.
Oh, was it Ed? Okay,
because Ed has, like, visions of his own sometimes.
Right.
And he'll paint them.
Right.
So, in Ed's office, she's, like, poking around, like, looking at the files and stuff, sees a picture of Jesus. She's like, don't you look at me, and, like, puts it down so he's not able to judge her or whatever.
And there's the keys.
Yep. So something clearly, like, led her to the keys.
Yeah.
Some force in the house is powerful enough to do that. She immediately goes into the artifact room. And even though there's big signs everywhere that are like, don't touch anything, she starts touching everything.
Yeah. Because, you know, Disney Plus started today. I was listening to Sleeping Beauty earlier, and all I could hear was the fairies in this whole part where they're, like, screaming, don't touch anything. But she touched all the things.
Yeah.
All the
things. Like, she's literally like, just dragging her fingers across shelves full of stuff. And there's a lot of cool stuff in this room. I appreciated all the little Easter eggs that they threw in and stuff. Just lots of creepy, old artifacts.
Yeah.
But she interacts with everything. She touches samurai uniform, samurai armor that's clearly got an Oni inside. She sees a scratched up old book called The Black Shuck that's got claw marks on the front and, like, opens that. Papers fall out. She puts them back in. She plays Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on an old piano.
She, like, touches a dress.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. The Warrens make very questionable decisions about the way they store these haunted objects.
I'm going to agree with you on that one.
They have what's obviously some kind of haunted wedding dress. And instead of putting that in a box and then putting that box in another box, and
mail that box to myself.
They put it on a mannequin. So that in the corner of the room all the time, there's a mannequin in a wedding dress.
With a veil.
Yeah. Just waiting to move on its own, I guess.
Standing there like a creep.
Yeah. There's an old TV-looking thing that reminded me of Willy Wonka for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe the TV device that makes candy. You know, when you see a candy commercial that would make candy.
Like, you think of it, Mike, the TV guy, would, like, pick out things from the TV. Like, they use TV waves or whatever.
Yeah, that or maybe, like, the head of a Teletubby. One of those things. They had a thing like that in there.
Sure.
And then, of course, the case with Annabelle in it.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And just shelves and shelves and shelves of other stuff.
Random stuff. Boxes, crucifixes, photos.
Everything.
Piles of random coins. For some reason, like, a severed arm that's not decomposing in a glass case.
Yes!
Oh, and one of those amazing monkeys that I love that like, you wind it up
the
in
symbols.
Yeah, it claps the symbols together. Those things are always haunted, 100%.
Yep.
So she takes out a small photo from her pocket and puts it on the piano and then plays it, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And, like, it sends up this puff of dust, and the dust just hangs there for a minute, and I was waiting for the dust to turn into something or to move, and over her shoulder, you're, like, watching the wedding dress because you're so concerned it's going to move. So there was some decent tension in that scene, just, like...
For sure.
Watching and waiting.
Well, and I, like, wanted something to happen.
Yeah.
And so I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Nothing did, though. They didn't. But really
it did give me a little tense, so there's that.
She hears a thump sound, and Annabelle has tipped forward in her little glass case.
Flopped over. Thunk. Like that.
Her forehead's against the glass.
And I don't know if it's, like, curiosity or not wanting to get caught, but she opens the glass case and props Annabelle back up.
Yes.
Oh, and she tries to summon her dad while she's in there. Mm-hmm. She pulls out a picture of her and her dad, and she's like, Dad? And nothing happens.
Yeah.
So then she gets kind of disappointed. So now you know, like, her motivation and why she's in there. But I get the impression as well that though she wants to communicate with her dad, she's not a big believer of anything else in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
that's
is a good
why
point.
There's
that's
all kinds of signs that say, like, don't touch anything, don't open this case. And she's just like, it's fine.
Yeah. She doesn't put any stock in it.
Yeah, even though she thinks they have the ability to communicate with her dad, I don't think she believes in any of the rest of it.
Yeah. Which I think a lot of us have that line, you know?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you believe in the religious afterlife, but you don't believe in ghosts. Maybe you believe in ghosts, but not the religious afterlife. Maybe you believe in both things, but you don't believe in aliens. And then there are the people down in Area 51 who are like, let's storm the place. I can't keep all of us out. Like, what are you hiding there, you know? So I think we all have that cliff that our belief isn't really willing to.
I believe in this part, but I can't go a step further. Yeah, I can see that.
And I think they've done correlative studies, too, that show if you're willing to believe in XYZ, you're also typically willing to believe this other stuff.
Yeah.
So usually I think in terms of figuring out who's most likely to believe conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So
I think that's fair. Yeah. Well, and I think just like human nature, I think it's easier to believe in you can communicate nicely with the dead versus there's evil objects or beings trying to hurt people instead of just like there's nice ghosts who watch out for us, and you know what I mean. Do
you think it's easier because one of them is more comforting?
Yes.
Yes. I think we are more apt to believe in the comfort.
Yes.
And I'm not 100% sure where my own level of belief falls.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't either.
Yeah,
I can't say for sure in any. I mean, like, I believe in an afterlife, but I don't know that I necessarily believe in ghosts, but I don't know that I necessarily don't.
Yeah, and I've had some creepy, freaking experiences.
Yeah.
Which this movie actually made me think of a little bit, if you'll permit me to go off the rails a little bit for. So Daniela is in the room because she wants to communicate with her dad. And obviously, like, if you've watched the movies in the Conjuring universe, you know right away, as soon as she's like, a loved one close to me has died, you're like, obviously,
this is going to end badly.
Yeah. They're going to capitalize on that. They're going to trick her into thinking that they are her dad or something like that. Like, you can feel that coming. And so I was out ghost hunting up by Echo Lake one time with some friends. And we're just wandering around kind of like a walking path that runs around the lake and goes through some farmland up there. And we had some EMF meters and some dowsing rods. So about 6 months prior to that, I'd lost a member of my family and was not in a good place about it. Still struggling with it a lot. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't want any of the things that we're reaching out to masquerade as her. Because I would, like, I felt nervous about that. Probably from watching so many freaking Conjuring movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
So right as I had that thought, the gal with the dowsing rods, which we'd already made some connections to some possible spiritual entities, and the dowsing rods, if you're familiar with those, they're really difficult, supposedly, to trick other people with because you hold the cylinders containing the rods, and the rods are more or less free floating. So you can't actually turn the rod with your hand. All you do is turn the cylinder, and the rod itself is supposed to be like influenced by magnetic forces, kind of. It's sort of hard to describe, but basically it's supposed to be difficult to cheat at, you know. It's not quite as easy as pushing a planchette around on a Ouija board.
Yeah.
So they'll do things like open up wide for no, cross together for yes, because you have a pair of them. You can do things like point with the dowsing rods. So the person that was controlling them, she asked, would the spirits talking to us like to talk to any one of us in particular? And that's right when I was having the thought of, I don't want any of them to try to pretend to be someone that I care about. And right as I thought that, the two dowsing rods pointed right at me. And I was like, hard pass. No, thank you. The spirits can, like, screw with somebody else. Because I am not in a good emotional place for this right now.
Seriously.
So, I mean, you never know, like, was the person controlling the rods able to, you know, to control them? Like, was she holding them or controlling them? I had just thought that and not spoken it aloud, but that doesn't mean my face wasn't telegraphing, please, for the love of all that's holy, don't point at me, you know? Yeah. So you never know. It still creeped me the hell out.
Yep, that's fair.
But anyway, so like Jill said, Daniela's not a believer. Yeah. She puts Annabelle back in the chair and closes the door, but before she can lock it, the fire alarm starts going off because she has forgotten all about the cakes in the oven and they're burning.
Yeah.
She's like doing that thing we all do where you flap something at the fire alarm to get it to shut up. And Mary Ellen and Judy come back and
she's like all pissed. We left you here to watch the cake. What's wrong with you?
The cake is totally scorched. She's like, only the top is burned. It's totally blackened.
We just scrape it off. You know, we've all done it.
Yes, we have.
Some of us sometimes cook brownies for 2 hours. It's fine.
So they came back quickly because Judy skinned her knee and she's out back feeding chickens. And Daniela goes out to chat with her and make sure her knee's okay and whatnot.
And they have a good bonding moment.
Yeah.
Daniela, I think now realizes, hey, there's more to this than me just getting what I want. And realizes here's this little girl who like is worried nobody's going to come to her birthday and doesn't have any friends and yada yada. And so she goes out and she talks to her and like apologizes for her brother, which is where you find out that the bully is the brother, and says give him a break. He's been having a hard time lately because their dad just died. Which
Judy picks up on without being told.
Yes.
She's like, you lost someone close to you.
Yes, because she's got that sense.
So they cut back to in the house, and the babysitter, Mary Ellen, is ordering a pizza.
Yeah.
And as soon as she hangs up the phone, someone knocks on the door. And as she's like going to check on the door, the camera pans slightly, and you can see that Annabelle is just low-key chilling at the head of the dining room table. Yeah. And Mary Ellen doesn't see her at all.
Yeah.
So
with that creepy smile on her face.
Yeah, that knowing smile that she has. So someone's knocking at the door, and she goes through the peephole, and there's nobody out there. And then finally, she hears someone say, "Can Annabelle come out to play?"
And she's like, what?
So she opens the door, and there's a little girl knocking on the side of the house. Not on the door, but on, like, the side of the garage. And she's like, "Can Annabelle come out to play?" And Mary Ellen says, "You must have the wrong house. There's no Annabelle here." And the creepy little ghost girl goes, "Yes, she is. She's right behind you."
Ugh.
Great line.
Yeah.
So Mary Ellen turns around, and Annabelle is gone.
Yeah.
And when she turns back around, so
the little
Ghost
girl is gone. Yeah.
So, nice and creepy. They cut back to the backyard chicken coop, and Judy is telling Daniela, hey, you know, your dad's probably still out there. Like, he's out there. And my parents would tell you the same thing. And Danielle's heart is warmed by this. And then she looks up and sees her dad at the back window and jumps up and, like, goes running into the house to check it out. So they chase her into the house. Judy sees a woman in a wedding dress around the corner upstairs.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Daniela and Mary Ellen have gone downstairs. Judy follows the wedding dress woman up to the top floor where the bedrooms are.
The house is kind of a split level, but not a split level. So it's like there's the big main area with the kitchen and the living room, and then a few stairs to the basement, and then a few stairs to the upstairs.
I think they call it a tri-level.
Okay. I know there's like a name for the house. Like my sister had a house like that. There's the main area, too. And then it splits off for the upstairs and downstairs.
Really common 60s floor plan, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Judy goes upstairs, and through the cracked open door of her parents' bedroom, you can see something moving. And it's a rocking chair going back and forth. And Annabelle's sitting in the chair. You can see her in the mirror. And Judy goes to open the door, and she kind of like pushes it open, and the door swings itself shut. And when she opens it again, the chair is empty. No more Annabelle. Judy goes into the room, and something moves in the closet. And as it sort of moves, it makes the crucifix turn upside down and fall off the wall, of course. And it kind of like goes out and glides across the window, which you know you're on the top floor. So how is she like walking and gliding?
Yeah, like glide past the window. It makes all the curtains fly out.
Yeah.
Glides past the little wall in between the windows and a picture falls off. Glides past the other window and the curtains, and then like the other wall, which doesn't lead to the outside. Picture falls off. And
you can't see her unless it's through a window or through the mirror. So she kind of like becomes visible through the dresser mirror and the floor-length mirror. There's too many mirrors in this bedroom.
Way too many mirrors in this bedroom.
And it's this woman in a white wedding dress.
Yeah.
Obviously the wedding dress from the artifact room.
And then appears in the bedroom across the hall.
And it was cool until she appears in the bedroom across the hall.
Agreed.
Then she, like, turns, and half of her body is all bloody.
Yeah.
And she raises her arm, and she's, like, holding a butcher knife.
And she makes the stabbing motion.
And
like when the end of Psycho, and he's all dressed up, and he just chases at people while making the stabbing motion. It looked just like that to me.
yeah, and the quality of the effect, it felt, again, like The House. Like a campy horror joke movie from the 80s is what it felt like. So it lost whatever small hint of scariness that it had right there.
Yeah.
And it flies towards Judy and attacks her. Judy grabs the crucifix that fell on the floor and is, like, protecting herself and praying. And downstairs, Mary Ellen hears the commotion. So she comes running upstairs, bursts into the bedroom, and there's nothing in there. The walls are fine. The pictures are where they're supposed to be. And Judy's cowering on the corner with the crucifix. And she's like, I'm just scared. Everything's fine. And Mary Ellen is less concerned than I would be.
Right.
In that situation.
She was kind of just like, oh, okay, cool. We're all playing downstairs with your dad's files. Want to come check it out?
Well, they do have kind of a nice moment where Judy explains, I get scared sometimes because I see ghosts like my mom does.
Yeah.
And Mary Ellen's like, where do you see them? And Judy's like, everywhere.
Everywhere.
And
she kind of whispers it like that. Everywhere.
Yeah. And if I was Mary Ellen, I'd be like, are you seeing any ghosts right now? Kind of afraid of the answer. Mary Ellen doesn't ask that question.
I wouldn't ask that question. Some things
You
I don't
wouldn't
want to know the answer.
feel
Nope.
compelled to know?
Nope.
That
I'd be like, let's go watch Bambi. Come on.
It'd be the first question
nope.
out of my mouth.
Nope.
Yeah. So Mary Ellen tells her, hey, it's like people. Not every person you meet is bad. So not every ghost you meet is bad either.
Yeah.
So there must be good ghosts out there. Which had me thinking two theories.
Uh-huh.
One, well, no, at this point it was just one theory.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is, like, the priest a good ghost that she's seeing at the school? Because all he does is, like, look at her.
And he's not, like, covered in blood like the bride or anything, so.
Yeah. So who knows? So Judy feels better. They go downstairs to Ed's office where Daniela is, like, in the throes of, like, full-on Snoop mode. She's looking
that
at
person
everything.
you just can't control. Like, she is just touching everything you shouldn't do. Hey, my parents are going out of town. They said don't touch the liquor cabinet. Well, I'm touching the liquor cabinet. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna take a sip out of every bottle.
Yeah.
And break a couple for good measure.
Seriously, she's that person. Oh, you can't have a party? I'm inviting over 75 other people. Yeah.
Yes. So that's
She's that
Daniela.
person.
So she's in the office going through files, which serves as an opportunity for, like, the storytellers to kind of give us an explanation of some of the weirder stuff that we saw in the room. So she is looking at a file about a ghost called the Ferryman, who, like, was tormenting some girl who, for some reason in the photograph, looks exactly like the babysitter Mary Ellen. Like, she's her spitting image.
Mm-hmm.
Which they never explain.
Nope.
So
They focus on it a lot, and then nothing comes of it, sort of.
yeah. So he's called the Ferryman because he leaves coins on the dead people's eyes, the people that he murders or whatever. Just like, you know, the Sharon. We had the same issue with pronouncing his name in that other movie, but, you know, like the Greek guy. But
Yeah.
so they also explain that there's this wedding dress case where the wedding dress haunts people and turns them violent. There's a file on...
Which kind of makes the little girl go, oh.
Yeah.
Well, and Daniela kind of go, oh, I touched that. You
Yeah.
know, like... Well, and Daniela keeps saying these things, like, well, where's the wedding dress? It was in the room down the hall.
I
I'm
don't
sure
know that,
it is
no.
because that's where you said they keep things, right?
Yeah. Daniela is not as afraid as she should be at all.
No.
Like, she's super excited about all this weird crap that she's finding.
Yeah.
There's like
She's a true crime junkie, but about all this paranormal stuff.
Man, you true crime junkies are everywhere, too. Every time I mention to someone that I listen to a podcast, the podcast they recommend to me is 100% of the time a true crime podcast.
I'll tell you, I started listening to the Dateline podcast, and I can't stop. It's so
you have
freaking
a problem,
good.
Jill. You're addicted.
It's fine.
That's okay.
I stop anytime I want.
I'm listening to that podcast where Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey talk you through every episode of The Office. And I'm loving that.
Well, there you go.
So, anyway, there's like a case of the black shuck, which is kind of like a haunted dog, I guess.
Yeah. Hellhound.
A hellhound.
Yeah.
In England. And Daniel asks, well, what about the doll? And Judy's like, no, we don't talk about the doll.
Yes.
Serious business. You don't say Voldemort's name. They play an old-fashioned, like, 2-reel projector. They start playing that, and it's the exorcism scene from the beginning of The Conjuring and the end of The Nun that kind of, like, connects those two timelines. And... yeah, so just basically a little bit of an info dump about, like, here's all the creepy stuff and why it's in the house, and isn't it weird that this girl looks like you?
This is when we start getting overloaded.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. Literally all the 1,000 things in that room are gonna come into play at some point.
Yeah, which they could have gone 2 ways. Like, they could have laid some groundwork for some future movies that would have been kind of cool.
Which they still... maybe have.
They still have a lot of room to play there for sure. But I wish that they had kept it a little bit smaller. Like, give us a couple of things. But there were so many things. It felt almost a little bit disconnected from this point forward because it was kind of like, you don't watch Rick and Morty, do you?
No.
Well, there's an episode of Rick and Morty where they, like, play a whole bunch of disconnected, erased memories from one of the characters, and they're all just excuses for them to, like, have funny bits that don't actually connect to each other, like a clip show, sort of.
Sounds like Family Guy, when they just show random clips that don't mean anything.
Pretty much, yeah. This was, like, their episode of doing that. And that's kind of what this movie started feeling like from this point forward, was like, oh, here's a bunch of scary moments that don't actually connect to a larger storyline. Anyway... they go up into Judy's room to play a board game before she goes to bed, and one of the board games in her closet, she's like, oh, I've never played that one before. It's not odd to her that this board game has just appeared out of nowhere, but it is a board game that Daniela walked past when she was in the artifact room.
Which I missed, because there was so much in the artifact room, but Caryn picked up on.
Yeah, well, they kind of, like, zoomed in on it anyway.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention.
This game is called Feely Mealy. And I don't know if that was, like, a real game.
This game is basically, you stick your hand in a box. Like, you draw a card, and from what I can tell, you have to, like, find something in the box that matches the card.
Yeah, exactly. There's, like, a deck of,
it was a real game.
Was it really?
Yep.
Ridiculous. There's, like, a deck of 50 cards with random pictures on them, like a cat or a spoon. And inside the box, presumably, are a bunch of corresponding objects. So you put your hand inside the box and you feel around, and if you pull out the object that matches the card, you win a point. Seems to me like an opportunity to accidentally, like, you know, touch a dead person's hand or something.
Yeah, it sort of reminded me of that scene in Flash Gordon where they have to stick their hands in the hole and hope they don't get stung by the scorpion. Like, the whole time it's, like, tense, and you're like, what's in the hole?
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Not a game my anxiety would enjoy.
Oh,
Though,
no.
if it's not haunted, who cares?
Well, and it kind of reminded me of this awful game my dad got at Spencer Gifts where 4 people stick their finger inside of this little machine.
We played that, and it shocks one of you. We played that a lot.
He loved that game.
Yeah. Pretty sure you brought it to many parties, or somebody else had one.
Yeah, it was probably mine. I don't know. Thankfully, I don't know where it is anymore. It's probably at my dad's house.
Terrible game.
Yeah.
It hurt, too. It was like a strong
it was a serious shock.
Yeah.
And the tension, too, because the little dot would slow down, and then, like, the beeping would slow, and you weren't sure if it was going to end on you. But you couldn't yank your hand out preemptively, like, or you'd be a pussy.
Pushing the buttons on Diana's old VCR in their basement. You never knew if this was going to be the time. One time, her whole arm went numb.
Oh my gosh.
We used a stick to push buttons after.
Yes. So it sounds like a terrible, terrible game.
Yes.
Feely Mealy. With the dumbest... Oh, boy. Oh, the 60s.
Just the worst game. Mom, I want to know if you played this game.
Basically, we record this podcast for Jill's mother.
Uh-huh.
And for our friend
That's why
Danielle.
I like to talk to her.
So, somebody's knocking on the door, and instead of assuming it's pizza, everyone's, like, worried for some reason.
Well, no one's worried but the babysitter.
Yeah.
Because the last time she opened the door, there was a ghost standing out there.
That's true. That was unsettling. Okay.
So the door somebody starts knocking on the door. I think she probably forgot that she ordered a pizza. Because she was seriously like, oh crap, somebody's at the door.
Yeah, and that scary experience did happen, like, right after she hung up the phone.
Yes. She just doesn't want to answer the door.
But when she does...
Oh boy.
It's Bob Has Balls. Bob Has Balls. He came over to say hi.
And she's like, I'm so sorry, I can't let you in. They don't want me to have boys over. And he's like, that's okay. I just want to come say hi. He's so adorably awkward.
Yeah, immediately dorky.
In the best, most likable way.
Yeah. You totally get that there's obvious reasons she likes him, and she's definitely got a chance with him because he's pretty smitten with her.
Yes. And they both are clearly smitten with each other and have no idea how to talk to each other. Stupidly cute.
Yeah. And then this super awkward pizza guy shows up and ruins their whole adorable moment.
Who walks up because everyone in town knows this kid's name. Bob with balls! Immediately. Bob has balls. That's what he says when he walks up.
Oh, and Bob has just gotten done explaining to Mary Ellen because she's like, what's the deal with that? Where does Bob...
Why do they call you that?
And he's like, oh, because I'm the equipment manager for all the sports teams. There's not actually a story. It's just that I literally have balls. Yeah. So the stoned pizza guy arrives and makes things awkward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob goes home and they're left to their own devices.
Yep.
Judy's eating the pizza and watching old TV game shows, I guess. I don't know what game show she's watching, but some kid won a prize, and they give it to her, and it's an oversized Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah, which made us laugh.
Yeah, because as Jill remembered, the real-life Annabelle that is actually in the Warrens' house is a Raggedy Ann doll. She's not a porcelain doll, which I think is kind of cooler in a way.
Oh, I think it's less. I don't know.
I like the surprise of...
It looks like a normal thing.
Yeah, but is not.
Yeah.
But
I used to play with... My dad had an aunt that lived in Salt Lake, and we'd go see her sometimes, and she had giant Raggedy Ann doll, and I thought it was so cool. It was as tall as me, and that's my only experience with a Raggedy Ann doll.
That's what it looked like on the TV.
But that's kind of what it looked like on the TV. When I looked it up, I was like, that she had an Annabelle-style Raggedy Ann doll, and I just played with it.
Yeah.
But it was fine.
That one was probably fine.
It was totally fine. Yeah.
So, the clicker falls off the coffee table, and there's what I think they're trying to make kind of a tense moment of Judy trying to find the clicker, and then the lights getting turned off. And it turns out to just be that they turned off the lights because they're bringing in the terribly overbaked birthday cake and singing to her.
Singing in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
The birthday song.
Uh-huh. Which they probably had to pay mighty big bucks to use that birthday song.
Really?
Yeah, did you know that?
I guess I did know that. That's why a bunch of restaurants have their own song. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll, sing it in other languages and stuff.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because if you use it in a TV show or a movie, you have to pay royalties to those two women's families.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's a nice moment where Judy invites Daniela to her birthday party the next day because she's like, I don't actually expect any kids to come, and will you come to my birthday?
And Daniela's like, yes. And she's so excited, and it's so cute. And she says to her friend, look what I got. She's like, yeah, I got mine weeks ago.
Yeah. It's kind of a cute turning point for Daniela because up until that point, she'd been kind of a selfish weenie.
Yes.
And now she's starting to be Judy's friend.
Yes.
And that's nice.
And sort of made me go, because the whole first half, I'm like, this girl's going to die and she deserves it. And about this point, I was like, oh, but Judy needs a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
And this girl's nice to her. Yeah.
She's redeeming herself.
Yes.
Yeah, which is important.
Yeah.
So that moment is interrupted by someone singing and playing guitar.
Badly. And loudly.
And loudly. And Bob Has Balls has returned.
Because he's got balls.
He's got balls. And he is singing a song I'm sure Jill recognized. He recognized
Now
like everything on the soundtrack.
what it was. I want to say it was John Denver, but now I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. I think that Jill's favorite part of this film was the soundtrack.
Seriously, every song was magical and amazing, and I loved it.
They made good choices.
Oh, he was singing Everything I Own.
Okay.
I would give everything I own just to have you back again.
Jill's singing it much, much better than Bob was. But it was still really cute.
It was cute. And he was trying so hard to, like, play his guitar, and he kept doing that thing where you have to, like, stop and then figure out where your fingers go and then play. It was adorable.
Yeah. And Judy, upon seeing this, says, Bob has balls.
Which was beautiful.
It was
her best line.
So they all leave the window to go outside, I guess, and talk to Bob. But before they can get there, he looks up, sees the empty window, and then hears something off to his left. And when he looks over, the fog is turning into a dog.
Yep.
And it does. And, like, the dog jumps out at him. But not in a scary way.
No.
It felt like the werewolves in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he runs.
Yeah, he runs away around the side of the house. And the wolf chases him. And so when the girls come out onto the front lawn,
he's just gone.
Mary Beth is like, all right, I better get Judy to bed now. So, Daniela, you should go home. And Daniela's like, I should stay the night with you. And Mary Beth's like, no, you go home. Her name's Mary Ellen. I keep calling her Mary Beth. The babysitter.
The babysitter.
So the babysitter sends Daniela home. And so the babysitter and Julie go back into the house and close the door. And Daniela reaches into her pocket and realizes she still has the Warrens' keys.
Yeah.
Therefore, she still has the proof that she went into the room. So she runs around the back and the side of the house to sneak in through the back and put the keys back without anyone noticing.
Mm-hmm.
She gets in the house. And she's walking toward the office, and with her back to the artifact room, its door opens itself to her. And so naturally she goes in.
Yeah.
It cuts back upstairs to the babysitter and Judy. Babysitter's name is definitely Mary Ellen, I think.
Babysitter's fine.
So she's explaining to Judy, okay, here's the long and the short of what's going on with Daniela. Her dad died in a car accident, and Daniela was driving the car. And it wasn't her fault. The only person who thinks it's her fault was Daniela. So that's why she's, like, kind of struggling.
Yeah.
They cut back to the artifact room, where there's, like, general creepiness that's not creepy at all. Like, the samurai suit of armor, its head sort of, like, turns to follow Daniela. And, like, the little clapping monkey, its eyes follow Daniela. But it all just felt kind of animatronic to me.
Agreed.
So, not scary at all.
It didn't make me nervous in the slightest.
No. She walks around to the back of the room, appears to notice that the wedding dress is gone. Like, it's obvious that it is just missing entirely. It's a pretty big gap.
Mm-hmm.
And she's nonplussed by this at all.
No cares. She
finds, inside of a little box, this bracelet that's called a mourning bracelet. And it's something that, it's like a giant locket on a bracelet. And when you open the locket up, you can put something inside and use it to, like, make contact with your departed loved ones. So she folds up that picture of her dad, puts it in the bracelet, and tries again. And is like, okay, any spirits in this room that want to talk to me, like, give me a sign. And a rocking chair in the corner starts rocking itself. And then behind her, she can't see it, but we do, a man walks by. Then you hear Twinkle Twinkle Little Star playing on the piano, which is the same song she was playing earlier, presumably a song she and her father share together. She walks over to the piano, and it kind of just shows her hands playing on this, like, crappy old piano keys. And
which,
then,
like, that's what I would do. The piano plays itself, so I go over and mimic it.
Right after a flippin' rocking chair has been rocking on its own.
She's dumb. We talked about.
So she goes from, like, being a non-believer to being completely and totally unconcerned with the level of paranormal activity in this room. Mm-hmm. Like, quick.
Even though she wants the paranormal activity. That's right. Like, it was just inconsistent to me. Yeah. Like, does she want there to be ghosts or not? Because she ignores a bunch of stuff Instead of like, if I was hoping my dad was coming and a rocking chair started rocking by itself, I'd be like, Dad?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. This scene didn't really work super well for me, but there were some effective things in it, though.
Yeah.
Like the hand that comes up next to hers and starts playing. When she looks up ahead of her, there's a little mirror sitting on the piano, and her father is standing behind her playing the piano with a big smile on his face.
Yep.
And she turns to look at him, and his face is all like
Messed
scary.
up. And he starts yelling at her, You did this to me!
This is your fault. Effective jump scare.
Yeah, I didn't jump. But
no,
it happened.
you didn't. You didn't jump there.
No.
But, you know,
Later.
yeah, later. I think if I hadn't been expecting it so much, it would have been a more effective jump scare. But
yeah.
So they cut to Bob, and he's in the back hiding in a chicken coop. Like hiding from the demon dog with the chicken.
And he looks so funny.
He's holding his guitar.
And he's just like standing in a chicken coop. And it's so great.
And the little chicken coop door opens on its own, and a chicken runs outside and is immediately eaten. And Bob is just like cowering in the chicken coop.
Yes. So great.
They don't show us too much more of Bob there. They take us back now to Mary Ellen, who is cleaning up in the kitchen and kind of getting pestered by a poltergeist. And I wrote that down because this scene totally reminded me of the original Poltergeist, because this glass of milk pulls itself across the kitchen counter and like drops onto the floor and shatters. And it felt to me like that scene where the chairs are moving themselves around in the Poltergeist.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts investigating stuff. There's weirdness happening. And I noticed at this point when she walked through the living room that there's a painting by the fireplace of the farmhouse where Annabelle creation takes place. With like the farmhouse and the tree and the well. So apparently Ed Warren saw that in a vision too, I guess.
Which that was after this, right?
Annabelle creation?
No, the Conjuring with the house.
Oh, yeah. So the Conjuring painting is in Ed Warren's office.
Oh, that's
right.
And
then the Annabelle creation painting is in the living room.
That's right. Okay.
So, because some weird stuff just happened in the kitchen, the babysitter goes upstairs to check on Judy, and Jill was like, there's something in the bed with Judy. And she was right. When the babysitter pulls the blanket back, Annabelle's just, like, laying in bed with Judy, who's asleep and doesn't notice.
Yeah.
And Mary Beth's just like, oh, weird, a strange, ugly as hell looking doll I've never seen before.
She kind of made a face like, ugh,
yeah.
You're different strokes for different folks, and tucked her back in and left.
So they cut to Daniela, who is locked in the room. She tried to like run away from her dad, and when she got back to the artifact room door, it slams shut and traps her.
And she was like screaming and yelling, and no one could hear her.
No one can hear her. It's like muffling the sound.
Yeah.
So she's in there, and that weird like Willy Wonka TV turns itself on, and it's showing her, but like 30 seconds into the future.
Yeah. Which was cool.
Yeah.
This scene was really well done.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Yeah.
Like, definitely unsettling, I guess.
Yeah.
And the way that they put the two pieces of footage together was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps showing her on the TV, like, getting scared and looking over her shoulder. And so then, like, real life Danielle looks over her shoulder, and you're waiting for something to happen. And
yeah.
Kind of nothing does.
And she says something like, what's happening? And then she says it, you know, like,
yeah.
It's cool.
So back up in the living room, Mary Ellen is doing her homework and watching TV.
Oh, yeah, because she has no idea Danielle is in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's just, like, doing her own thing. And she starts to hear something kind of strange, like two recordings at once. So she mutes the television, and she can still hear someone talking and, like, weird sounds. And the sound leads her to the Warrens' office, where there's an audio recorder. This part I thought was very effectively creepy. There's an audio recorder playing a small child talking about the ferryman. And talking about how they could hear him coming because they would hear the drop of a coin, that, like, plink that a coin makes on the floor. And that they would turn around and no one would be there. And then they'd hear the coin drop again, and that's how they knew that he was there. And the kid is saying, if you don't give him the toll, he'll take your soul. And the recorder keeps, like, rewinding itself to play that over and over again. Give him the toll or he'll take your soul. And every time that it, like, goes back and plays, it plays itself at a different speed. So the kid's, like, vocal pitch is going up and down.
Yeah.
That would scare... I would wet my pants.
Yep.
Like...
It was creepy.
100%.
This is when Jill started getting tense.
Yes. So babysitter goes over, pushes stop on the recorder, and you hear that plink sound, the one that the kid was describing, and a coin, like, rolls across the floor.
Yeah.
And all the lights go out. Of course, the babysitter gets a flashlight.
I'm now afraid of spare change, just for the record.
She grabs a flashlight and sees that the ferryman's file is, like, open on the table. And there's this creepy picture of a dead man with, like, coins on his eyes.
Which I've always found to be creepy. I love the idea of it. The idea is that you use the coins to pay the ferryman on your way to heaven or hell or
the
whatever.
Underworld,
The
whatever.
Underworld. Yeah.
Over the river
The
Styx.
other side. Yeah. Which I always found to be sort of beautiful, but I think it looks creepy.
Oh, totally.
I always have.
Even in Boondock Saints, it's
So
scary
creepy.
looking, the way they sort of, like, balance on the eyes.
Yep. So
Um,
creepy.
So behind her, she doesn't see it, but we do. You see the man from the photograph with coins on his eyes.
I don't like it.
I know.
I'm
Like,
pretty sure I said, I don't like it.
none of us liked it. It was very unsettling. So she starts making her way back up the stairs. Another coin plinks and rolls down the stairs and kind of, like, rolls across the floor to her. And she's sort of playing this awful E.T.-like game of following coins like they're pieces of candy.
Yeah.
And as she walks up the stairs, to her left, we can see someone pressed up against the wall with coins on their eyes.
Yeah.
And again, she doesn't see it.
Yeah.
She walks past them. There's, like, weird shadows in the kitchen. And she walks into the kitchen, and there's kind of like a pantry by the refrigerator. And it's all dark in there, but you can see light reflecting off 2 coins about the height of a very tall man's eyes.
Yes.
And she shines the flashlight from his feet up. And as she's shining at the top of the light field, you can sort of see, like, the outline of, like, shoes and then pants and then a shirt. But it's, like, disappearing into smoke as she raises her flashlight. And when she gets up to his face, it's a face for a second, and then the coins drop to the floor.
Yep.
Which was so cool.
So cool.
And really
so
well
creepy.
done.
My friend Paige and I went to see The Music Man at Hale Center Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the round, right? So someone sitting across from us was wearing glasses, which I now think of every time I go, and the light hit them in such a way that it was like just these 2 glowing eyes. So I, of course, had to tell Paige. And then the whole rest of the play, she just kept leaning over and she'd, like, laugh and then just lean over and be like, damn you, Jill. Because all you see are these demon eyes staring back at you across the room. And this reminded me of that. Because it was so, like, we're watching The Music Man, very happy show.
Yeah.
Totally terrified.
I call that the creepy anime eyeglasses.
Oh, yeah,
because-
that's true. That does happen a lot in anime.
Yeah, like, the
Yeah.
evil guy will be looking at a computer, and, like, the computer light will, like, glare off of his eyeglasses,
Yeah.
and he'll push them back up onto his nose and say something menacing.
Yep.
So the coins that dropped out of thin air roll toward her, and she naturally picks one up, because that's what you do. And she's, like, raising it up to look at it, and she's getting it higher and higher and higher until it's about the same height as her own face. And then, boom, like, another entire face appears with coins in front of his eyes right in front of her.
Like,
And that's what got Jill.
like almost appeared around the coin she
Yeah.
was holding. Like the coin was one of the eyes.
Yes.
And yeah, I lost it. I couldn't. I jumped so hard.
That was super
Even
well
Caryn
done.
talking about it, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm sitting here trying to be cool.
Yeah, so they did a lot of things really, really well in this movie. Like,
Yes.
some of the scares were so effective.
Well, and there were so many subtle somethings happening in the background, which all of these movies do well.
That's my favorite thing. Like,
Yeah.
we talk about it all the time with The Haunting of Hill House. The stuff that they don't draw attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Conjuring 2 did it so well constantly with the old man just, like, sitting in the corner and no one even notices him.
Yeah.
That stuff to me is, like, the most effective. But then some good jump scares in there too.
Yeah, for sure.
The ferryman who's just appeared, he tries to, like, drag Mary Ellen into the pantry or whatever. And there's, like, all of these dead people in, like, kind of old stand-up caskets with coins on their eyes. And she's fighting him, and she grabs her flashlight and shines it on him and makes him disappear. So she's able to go, like, scrambling up the stairs to pound on Judy's door. Judy, meanwhile, has woken up for other reasons, because she can't even hear Mary Ellen pounding on the door.
Yeah.
She gets woken up because, just like in Conjuring 2, something is pulling her feet
Oh,
down.
yes.
Which I find just terrifying, this idea
Yeah.
of something pulling on me
You're
while I'm
supposed to be
sleeping.
safe in your blankets.
Yeah. So that's what wakes her up. And yeah, then there's the lump in her bed.
Yes. And she like lifts up her blankets and sees Annabelle's face. And then lifts them up higher, and there's like the ghost girl
from earlier
comes like scrambling out at her.
So she has another thing in her bedroom that Jill was quite uncomfortable with. The night light that makes no sense.
Listen. Room should be dark, or room should be all light. There should be none of this partial lighted nonsense.
I'm fine with partial light. I am not down with moving partial light.
So it was like, on the end of a flashlight, a slow-moving fan of different colors.
Mm-hmm. So it would very slowly change the light in the room from, like, blue to red to yellow.
Yeah. Not okay.
So after she, like, kind of kicks her covers away, Annabelle ends up on the floor, and she's casting a shadow on the wall. And every time the colors change, the shadow changes into, like, the ghost girl, and then into the demon bride lady with the knife, and then into, like, a demon with horns, which I assume is the demon that's controlling Annabelle. This part was not scary to me.
No.
Yeah.
And the demon, like, comes at her. She hits him with a crucifix, and he hisses and runs away.
Yeah. And it felt cartoonish.
Yes.
The way that the shadows were changing on the walls, it felt like something out of a Disney movie. So that was kind of maybe an extra little bit of a letdown because the jump scare in the kitchen had just been so good.
Yeah.
And then this
and
business
then you were like,
with the shadows.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She comes running out into Mary Ellen's arms. Mary Ellen finally does what I've been wondering this whole time why she hasn't done, which is run into the kitchen and try to call the Warrens at wherever it is that they are.
Yes.
She gets a hold of Lorraine, and she's like, Judy's fine, but there's something going on in the house. We're trapped in here. They had, like, tried to run outside and
leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like,
the
hellhounds outside.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what do we do? And Lorraine's voice asks, is Annabelle there? Let me talk to Annabelle. Annabelle wants a soul. And the babysitter realizes, this is not Lorraine. Yeah. Someone is jerking me
Give her
around.
your soul,
yeah.
she says.
She wants your skin. Yeah. So they're effectively on their own. Like, they can't call for help at this point. It cuts back to the artifact room. And that future television thingy is showing us... which I thought was kind of a cool connection because they were just on the phone with not Lorraine, and in the artifact room, Daniela on the future television is on an old-fashioned phone. And then right after that, her, like, face starts melting and getting all bloody, and she's obviously dying. A couple seconds later, the phone, the weird old-fashioned telephone in the box, starts ringing. Daniela didn't see herself on the future television because she was finally acting like a rational person and was crying in the corner.
Yeah.
So she doesn't see this. She just walks up and starts reaching for that future television to certain doom.
Of course.
Because of course you would answer the oldest phone you've ever seen in your whole flippin' life that's ringing on its own in the most haunted room ever.
When they told you everything is haunted in this room.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right as she's about to touch it, Judy and the babysitter burst through the door and stop Daniela. Judy's like, no, don't touch it! And save her life from whatever thing inside the phone would just, like, make you start bleeding.
Because I think Judy realizes Annabelle's out. We need to put her back.
Yeah. Do you think she... Yeah, because she
sensed it. Yeah.
Annabelle, like, on the phone. Uh-huh. So, yeah. So she's put two and two together. So they burst in there, and Daniela cops to the fact that, like, okay, I was just trying to, like, talk to my dad, and I did bad things, and I let out the doll.
And Judy says, what did you touch? And she's like, everything.
Yeah.
I touched everything.
She was literally practically licking everything in that whole stupid room.
And they, like, Judy's face was just like, ugh.
Yeah. And as soon as she says everything, the room goes haywire. It's like everything comes to life and starts, like, making noises and flying off of things.
Again, too much.
They go running out of the room, and the babysitter starts having an asthma attack, which they established pretty well earlier in the movie that she has to take puffs of her inhaler every once in a while. But it's in her car. Daniela volunteers to go out to the car to get it, and Judy's like, no, like, you stay here, troublemaker. Like, I'll go out to the car, and I'll get the inhaler. So Judy runs outside to the car, and grabs the inhaler from the glove box and then starts getting attacked from all sides by the hellhound that's attacking her invisibly.
The cartoonishly ridiculous hellhound.
Yeah.
Who, like, starts scratching at the roof of the car, and I didn't realize it was a convertible, so I was like, what is this car made of? Paper? And Caryn quickly corrected me.
Oh, yeah.
He tears through it very quickly.
Because it is, in fact, made of fabric.
Yeah. And not metal, like I originally assumed.
So Judy jumps out of the car to go running in the house, and Bob has balls, heroically, like, steps out, hits the hellhound with his guitar, and the guitar breaks, and the hellhound, like, disappears into smoke. I wasn't even sure Judy saw him do this until later, because she doesn't, like, turn around and say anything. She just, like, runs in the house with the inhaler.
And slams the door and leaves Bob has balls outside with the hellhound.
Who's, like, reappearing in the mist.
Yeah.
So, back in the house while Judy was gone, Daniela was getting stalked by the bride. And the bride stabbed Daniela in the stomach, and there's all this blood. But when Daniela looks down again, she's totally fine. Everything's okay, until the bride knocks her to the floor and vomits blood into Danielle's open mouth.
Blech.
Super gross. So when Judy gets back inside and gets the inhaler to the babysitter's like, where's Daniela? And they don't know because she's missing again.
Yeah. I think Judy says something like, she's not okay. Or something like Judy...
Oh, yeah.
Like, senses that she's not herself.
Yeah, babysitter's like, where's Daniela? She's missing. And then they hear Daniela upstairs. You guys, I'm up here. Help me. And Judy stops her. No, that's not Daniela. I can feel it.
Something's got her.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
We just need to put Annabelle back and it'll be fine.
Yeah. And then she looks down the stairs to the basement and she sees the priest from her school standing down there. And he walks away towards the office and towards the artifact room. And Judy's like, well, not all ghosts are bad, right? So...
let's follow him. Whatever.
So they go downstairs. And
at this point, I was ready for the movie to be done.
Yeah. Well, I was still watching because I was like, let's get to the bottom of these mysteries. I was honestly hoping that it would turn out, and I said as much to Jill in the moment, I was like, I hope this is a trick, and I hope that this, like, priest ghost is a bad ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't really closed the loop still on the whole, hey, look at this, you look exactly like the victim of the ferryman. So I was like, is the babysitter a ghost somehow, even though she has friends? I still had a couple mysteries that they had laid out for me that I was waiting for them to solve. So I was still pretty engaged. They have to walk past, to get down the hallway to the Warrens' office, they have to walk past the suit of Japanese samurai armor that's just, like, standing in the hallway. Just kind of
chilling.
Yeah. So Judy walks past it, and it's, like, talking and screaming, and, like, you can hear the sounds of battle and people dying. And it goes on for too long with the babysitter standing there and this mask, like, following her and making scary sounds.
And the babysitter kind of gets in a trance, almost.
Yeah. And Judy breaks her out of it.
Yeah.
So they go into the office, and they see Annabelle sitting in a brightly lit closet in the office, just, like, waiting for her. I'm like, hi, guys, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
And the babysitter walks forward to get her, and of course the door slams shut and is locked. And Judy's like, they never lock it, so I don't even know where the key would be. So
then a little card slips under the door from where Annabelle is.
Yeah.
And it's a card of a picture of a key. And here comes this touchy-feely game.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Feely-meely.
Feely-meely.
The babysitter puts it together pretty quick. Like, okay, we're going to have to, like, put our paws in there.
So she walks up, and she's very hesitant, now that she knows the game is haunted, to stick her hand in an empty hole. Imagine
she
that.
Would be.
So she's, like, kind of going in slow, and Judy's like, screw this, and just sticks her hand in and pulls the key out immediately.
Yeah. Which, props to her for good psychic powers. Like, I had been expecting her to be more vulnerable to the box, so I kind of like that she wasn't. She was the strong one. She's over this. She's like, let's just put this stupid damn doll back and, like, end this. So they open the door, and of course now the closet's all dark, except for an old-timey lantern that lights itself and illuminates more of these, like, dead people with coins on their faces and in the stand-up coffins. So the babysitter goes in there to get Annabelle, and It's at the end of a preposterously long hallway. Jill was like, where are they? And at the very end of the hallway, there's the ghost that looks exactly like the babysitter for no reason, holding Annabelle. And she has to have, like, a tug-of-war with her ghost self that has, like, coins on her eyes for the doll. And she pulls it close, and the coins fall off the girl's eyes, and she screams, and everything goes black.
And I expected from that some sort of, like, body switcheroo.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, the thing that comes out of the closet will be the ghost.
Sort of consequences. No,
nothing. Just Annabelle's doll gets, like, thrown out of the closet. Babysitter's voice screams, like, take it, run.
So Judy starts running with the doll and then gets stopped by Daniela, dressed as the bride.
And her face is all, like,
messed
haunted
up
looking.
Yeah.
And she's clearly possessed, and she has the knife, and she's, like, trying to attack Judy. Then the babysitter comes bursting out of the closet and starts, like, grappling with Daniela. And Judy has kind of a cool idea. She turns on that reel-to-reel recorder and plays the video of the Warrens exercising that spirit. And it's, like, shining right on Daniela because she's in front of the projector screen.
Which makes her, like, freeze, and it's like she's being exorcised from the video.
Which I thought was a very cool, neat little twist.
That worked pretty well.
Yeah, I liked that. So that distracts and stops Daniela for long enough that Judy can run away with the doll. Oh, as they're grappling, like, ghost hands come out of the feely mealy box and is, like, grabbing at their feet.
Trying to grab their feet.
Yeah. Judy is able to take Annabelle and run back for the artifact room. Which is still, like, going haywire. Everything in there is all crazy. Yeah. And she's trying to shove Annabelle back in the box, and she's trying to close the door, and that horned demon that showed up in her bedroom, knocks her back and is holding her up against the wall by her neck, and he starts sucking her soul out through her face. So that's when it, like, really clicked that, oh, okay, this is the demon that's been controlling Annabelle. He wants her soul. Mm-hmm. And she grabs a crucifix off some haunted box and is able to, like, smash him with it. And that knocks him back enough that she's able to try to close the door. The babysitter runs in and is trying to help, but it's fighting them. And then Daniela runs in finally, and she apparently was successfully exorcised of the bride demon. And she's able to, like, the power of all three of them, close the door as Judy was praying. And as this is happening, both Jill and I were like, okay, where's the priest? Like, the ghost is going to, like, come in and come to the rescue.
Because Judy's, like, screaming a prayer.
Yeah, she's screaming the Lord's Prayer. And that would have been, I think, the priest's cue to come in.
Right.
He never shows up again. Like, they followed him down the hallway earlier.
Him into the basement, nothing.
That's it. So we never find out, like, was he a good ghost? Did he just happen to be there? What impact did he really have? Yeah.
No idea.
That was kind of a letdown for me. But they get the door closed, and they lock it. The three girls.
And it's really funny because right before the Warrens come home, like, you see everybody, like, Judy and the babysitter, like, sack down on the couch.
Oh, Bob has balls
is sitting there with his broken guitar, like, on guard. Like, he's sitting in a chair, like, watching everything, wide awake, while the girls are sleeping.
And that was when Judy, like, had delivered the line that I was like, because they close Annabelle up in the case, and she says, the evil has been contained.
Yes.
Yeah, so the next morning, the Warrens are coming back. Bob has balls, asks the babysitter to the prom.
They have a cute almost kiss, and she doesn't notice. And he just walks away dejected, and it's adorable.
That part was really cute. And then the babysitter, Judy, and Daniela walk outside to, like, explain what happened to the Warrens and own up to their mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the end of the movie. There's an end scene where, like, oh, it's Judy's birthday, we have a party. No one came until everyone comes, including her old bully, and she has a really nice birthday.
Yeah. The end.
The end. Yeah. So they never closed the loop on why did that ghost look like the babysitter? Was that just a coincidence?
Why is there a ghost priest?
Yeah. Is he good or bad? What's the deal with Annabelle? It's still kind of, like, unexplained.
Yep.
The demon, I assume, wasn't banished or exorcised or anything like that. They just locked up Annabelle so he couldn't get to her.
Around?
Yeah, like,
I don't
waiting
understand.
for someone else. Yeah, so it raised a lot of questions and answered none of them.
Yeah.
it felt too busy. Like, I feel like they could have cut out the Hellhound or the Bride or both of them, and it would have still felt like a pretty full horror movie.
It was funny. I liked the Hellhound and Bob Has Balls for their comedic breaks, because this movie needed a little something, and so I wouldn't have wanted those to cut out, because that's what made it enjoyable for me, were those parts with Balls and the Hound.
Yeah. Balls and the Hound.
Band name, called it.
Or Disney movie sequel, whatever. But yeah, it just... I was a little bit disappointed in it, because I think I love the rest of the Conjuring movies so much that I had a very high bar.
Very into detail, and this one felt like not into detail at all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I had a hard time with, was like, okay, but this doesn't fit at all.
Yeah. Yeah, too many open loops and...
Yeah.
But that being said, like, if they make a movie about any of those artifacts in that room, they have so much to play with, you know? It's like what they did with Jurassic World, where they blew it wide open so we can have, like, so many other movies now.
Yep.
I'll watch all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because this was, like, the lowest point of these movies, but it still was reasonably entertaining.
Yeah.
I still
had a
have
good time.
all the faith in the world in James Wan and can't wait to see what he does next.
Yep.
So, yeah. I stand by our ratings earlier.
Yeah.
3 for enjoyment, 2.5 for scary.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you know, if you've got movies that you want us to watch, especially ones that have scared you, that you've watched recently, maybe not the ones that scared you when you were 5 and you're 35
Oh, no,
now.
I still want to watch that. I want to watch The Dolls with you, because everyone at work is scared of this movie. Have we talked about this? It's from the 80s.
Okay.
It's called The Dolls. My buddy at work, Jeannie, is terrified of it, and she keeps pulling up pictures and showing me. And the dolls seem familiar enough. Like, I may have seen part of this movie once, but...
All right.
Yeah.
I'm down to watch that.
Okay.
Definitely got to watch Dr. Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about Fantasy Island. Oh, yeah. Wait Until Dark. We got to watch that one. Audrey Hepburn.
Yep.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming up for you guys. But as always, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
This has been Scream Girl Squad.
Yay!